The discussion of this point relates to the fact that Israel commits war crimes, crimes against humanity within the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem and the occupied Syrian Golan.
According to the report of the Director General, 191 Palestinians have been killed and 10,345 Palestinian victims have been recorded, with 187 attacks reported by the WHO against health services in the occupied Palestinian territories.
We have seen how Palestinians are struggling to get essential medical care and even emergency care.
Widespread damage to infrastructure, including hospitals, clinics, and ambulances, and educational, water, and sanitation facilities, has significantly limited access to basic services. The presence of checkpoints and barriers within the West Bank and the travel permit regime, all of which are contrary to the WHO objective and principles.
We welcome this important report and the WHO's continued support and commitment to the right to health of Palestinians and Syrians living under Israeli occupation. With that said, Malaysia stands firm in our unwavering support for the Palestinians who rightfully deserve their independent and sovereign state based on pre-1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital.
And let me also note the health professionals that have been killed by the occupying power. You know very well that paralyzed Palestinians have been attacked by Israeli forces. Today, there are 76 Palestinian prisoners who have been blinded. The occupying forces refuse to liberate these people, and these people have died because they did not have access to health services.
Prolonged Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territory and Syrian Golan, its illegal settlement activities and discriminatory policies and practices continue to negatively impact living conditions of the population under occupation.
We call on the international community to provide the medical care needed for the Palestinian people and to rebuild the institutions destroyed by the occupying forces in order to ensure a good health situation in the occupied Syrian Golan and for the Palestinian people.
2023 also marks the completion of 75 years of Al-Nakba, or catastrophe, where millions of Palestinians were dispossessed of their homes and homeland in 1948. The situation has only aggravated since then, with more people, including in East Jerusalem and the occupied Syrian Golan, living under the occupation regime.
It is common knowledge that the Palestinian people have been under prolonged occupation by Israel over the 75 years. The United Nations recently commemorated for the first time in its history the mass displacement of Palestinians from their land that was to become Israel and turned them into refugees almost overnight. Our position is clear. The occupation must end. A two-state solution must be achieved in line with international law.
It is with tremendous indignation that day after day we see the news that confirm the consolidation of annexation policies of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territories and the ongoing increase of the illegal settlement practices. Settlements continue to be constructed and expanded in the occupied Palestinian territory. We see punitive demolitions, forced displacement of civilians, of hundreds of civilians, the blockade of the Gaza Strip, and plans to annex the Palestinian territories in the Valley of Jordan and other parts of the West Bank and East Jerusalem.
Because the occupation continues, the Palestinian people are suffering, as are our brothers in the Syrian Golan. They lack access to health and education. Ambulances have been targeted for attack, and there is a lack of dignified living conditions.
Our country would like to reiterate its firm commitment with the noble and heroic cause of the Palestinian people in seeking a lasting and peaceful solution to the Palestinian question based on a two-state solution with the borders of 1967 with East Jerusalem as capital of the Palestinian state.
75 years ago, this month, some 700,000 Palestinian refugees Palestinians became Palestinian refugees. Their situation has not changed at all. Today, we have 5.8 million Palestinian refugees in the region. UNRWA is deeply committed in the protection and support of Palestinian refugees.
The decision in document A76B Conf 1 is adopted by 76 votes against 13 with 35 abstentions.
Year after year, you turn a blind eye to what is happening on the ground and instead vote blindly on a politicized resolution that has not helped a single Palestinian for decades. Year after year, you allow the Syrian regime, who has murdered hundreds of thousands of its own people, who has systematically bombed hospitals, who has targeted doctors who help those fighting for freedom, who has tortured thousands of in detention, who has used chemical weapons against their own people to whitewash their abhorrent crimes. To present a resolution with them and then say you care about health, now this is double standard. The WHO did indeed visit the Golan in 2017 and found that Israel gives anyone living in the Israeli Golan Heights the same access to the same quality of health care as people living in Jerusalem or anywhere else in Israel. All residents are equal, no matter race or ethnicity. This was noted in the report by WHO, a report that was sadly blocked by the Syrians, a report that the Secretariat caved in to the Syrian pressure and never published, a report that I have a copy, and I'm willing to share it with anyone here who is willing to read it. Earlier, the Palestinian delegation spoke about non-politicization of WHO. He spoke about non-politicization and then went on to accuse Israel of fascism. He went on to spread falsehood and lies. This resolution has never been consensual. It has never been non-political. It has been a ritual by states here in this very room since 1968. It is a decision that is stuck in time. It has been a tool, just like Palestinians use in nearly every multilateral arena to target my country. The vote today remains a constant stain on its credibility.